When you think of the Wild West, you might picture cowboys and outlaws, but there's more to the story. In this series, we're uncovering the real Wild West. First, let's talk about Native American tribes. They were here first, of course. And despite what you may have heard, many tribes thrived on the frontier. The Lakota and the Cheyenne followed the buffalo and made their homes on the Great Plains. The Navajo built a complex society in the Southwest, and the Iroquois Confederacy was a powerful force in the Northeast. These tribes had rich cultures and were experts at living off the land. But as settlers moved west, tribes were often forced to relocate, like the Cherokee on the Trail of Tears or the Choctaw, who had to leave their homeland in Mississippi for Oklahoma. Many tribes fought back against the U.S. government and the settlers who were taking their land. Some, like the Apache led by Geronimo, waged a decades-long war for independence. But ultimately, most tribes were defeated and forced onto reservations. And that's a big part of what the Wild West was all about, the clash between Native Americans and the U.S. government for control of the land. Now let's talk about women. Picture this. You're a woman in the 1800s. You've got two choices, basically. You can stay at home and be a homemaker, or you can head west and make your own way in a new land. And some women did just that. They traveled across the country in covered wagons, dodging bandits and struggling to survive. But there's a lot that history books don't tell you about these women. For one, they were not just wives and mothers. They were also explorers, traders, and entrepreneurs. They wrote about their experiences in newspapers and magazines, and some even became famous, like Calamity Jane or Annie Oakley. Next, let's clear up a common misconception about the Wild West. People think that sheriffs and lawmen kept the peace out west, but in reality, it was often up to vigilantes to do the job. I mean, there were plenty of lawmen, sure, but they were often outnumbered and outgunned. And besides, they weren't always interested in fighting crime. Some were corrupt, and some just didn't have the power to do much about the outlaws anyway. So when a crime was committed, it was often up to a group of volunteers, a mob, really, to take the law into their own hands. They'd hang the criminal or drive them out of town. And while that might sound extreme, it was actually pretty effective. I mean, it's not like you could call the police in most of the Wild West. There were no phones or radios, and besides, the nearest jail might be hundreds of miles away. So if you wanted justice, you had to take matters into your own hands. During the gold rush, thousands of people headed out west in search of fortune. But the cost of the gold was rarely talked about. I mean, sure, there were some famous gold rushes like the one in California in the 1840s, but there were also lesser-known rushes like the one in Colorado in the 1860s. And then there's the environmental impact. The gold rush led to widespread deforestation and soil erosion as miners cut down trees and left their equipment in the ground. It also led to the deaths of thousands of miners who were exposed to dangerous chemicals or crushed by heavy machinery. And let's not forget about the impact on Native Americans who were often killed or driven off their land to make room for gold mining operations. And finally, let's talk about cowboys. There's a lot of myths and legends surrounding these guys. I mean, they were basically the Indiana Jones of the Wild West, right? Well, not exactly. For one thing, cowboys didn't wear those big hats until later. And instead of being rugged individualists, they were often part of a team working for a big ranch. In fact, ranching was a highly specialized job, and cowboys had to work together to succeed. There were even different types of cowboys, like those who herded cattle and those who took care of the horses. And while they might not have been Indiana Jones, they were still pretty darn interesting. We'll learn more about them next time. So there you have it, just a small sampling of the untold stories from the Wild West. I'm your host. Thanks for watching.